Hey everyone, welcome to the next episode of our web design tutorial series. I am Michał from MDBootstrap.com and today I will teach you how to create this amazing stuff. Dark theme admin dashboard with glass effect, beautiful radial gradients and interactive elements like chart, map or site navigation. Everything pixel perfect and of course fully responsive. Let's do this. But before we start, a small request. If you like what we do, please subscribe to our channel, like this video and leave us a comment. It will help us grow and create more valuable tutorials for you in the future. And now, without further ado, let's jump into the code. In this tutorial, I will use Material Design for Bootstrap, which is a powerful library that greatly extends the capabilities of regular Bootstrap and provides many useful features, like for example, better look, additional components, free templates, and even a free hosting for your projects. To download MDB Bootstrap, just go to mdbootstrap.com and click big blue Get Started button. Then click big red Download button and unzip the package. Then open it in your favorite code editor. I am using Visual Studio Code. Next, open index.html in the browser, or if you are using Visual Studio Code as me, you can install very useful extension called Live Server, and thanks to that, you can enable live reload. So anytime you change anything in your code, browser will refresh automatically. So let me open it with live server. And then let's remove the existing content. And now we are ready to start our work. Let's start from creating this nice gradient background. We'll need a few lines of custom CSS to create this. So inside of the head section, let's open style tags and let's set a background color to the body. I will use the color I've prepared before in HSL format. And now let's add a gradient. So we need to use a background image property and radial gradient, 650 pixel circle at 0%, so it will be left top corner. And again, I will use the colors I've prepared before. So these are different shades of this basic color. Now let's set transparent 100%. Next, let's take care of bottom right corner. So radial gradient 1550 pixels circle at 100%, and again the colors prepared before, transparent 100%. And after saving the file, you can see that nothing happened, and that's because to apply a radial gradient, we will need to change the height of a body to viewport height units. So here we need to set height to 100 viewport height. And now it works as expected. In the left top corner we have a first point of our radial gradient, and in the bottom right we have the second one, slightly bigger than the first. Next, let's create this glass card with statistics and this nice ripple effect. So here, inside of the body, let's create a container, maybe with some padding top, and then let's create a section. Let's call it summary, and inside of this section we'll need a Bootstrap grid with 4 columns. So row, and inside call LG3, so 3 units on large screens, and call MD6, so 6 units, and that means 2 columns on smaller screens. And let's also add some margin bottom on a mobile and margin bottom LG0 on large screens. And now we can copy this 4 more times. So as you know, in Bootstrap Grid all the columns need add up to 12. So here we have 12 columns, 12 units with 3 units for each column on large screens, and 6 units, and that means 2 columns on a smaller screen. So as you can see, here are 4, but if we resize like this, it will be 2 columns on medium and only 1 column on mobile. Alright, now let's create this card, and as you can see, the card is clickable, so we'll use a element as a basic element for this card, and we'll add a few classes here. We want to use a flexbox inside of this card, so let's use dflex to enable flexbox and align items center to center it vertically, so anything inside of this card will be vertically centered. And let's add some padding, and let's add a shadow. Let's say shadow 4 strong, and I want to have rounded corners. Alright, and now to add this nice glass background, we need to create a helper in our CSS, and it will be very simple. BG glass, so background glass, background HSLA 0%, 100%, and transparency, let's say 0.15. And now backdrop filter blur 30 pixels. Let's see if it works. So if we add BG glass, we should achieve the desired effect, and yes, it works. And now to add a ripple effect, we need to add a ripple class, and to make it light we need to use an attribute data ripple effect. Let's set the color to HSL 0% and let's say 75% of lightness. once again, I made some mistake, I suppose. 0075 data ripple effect. I'm sorry, not data ripple effect, but data ripple color. And now it's okay. Let's add a hash here, so after clicking the link, it won't reload the page. All right. And now inside of our card, actually we can add a comment here, so it will be better visible in our code. So here we start and here we end. And now let's add an icon, FSFA users. Alright, I made some typo. Here we have our icon. Alright, good. And I want it to be a slightly bigger, FALG, and text white. And let's also add FA fixed width, so all the icons will have exactly the same width. And now let's wrap this icon with another div, and I want to add to this div some additional padding. Let's paste it again, I mean our icon. And now I will add another helper, and this helper will be BG theme, so it will be a color of our theme, so kind of this dark blue color. And I will use the color I've used before, background color. So this is the same color as here, but slightly darker. I'm sorry, slightly lighter than this. And what also be useful is, all right, maybe I will take care about this later. So coming back to our icon, let's add BG theme here. And let's add a rounded corner. Rounded 4 should be fine. Perfect. Now below this div, let's add another one with margin on the left. And inside of this div, let's add a paragraph, page views. And let's add text muted here and margin bottom 2. Now below, let's add another paragraph with margin bottom 0. Oh, sorry. Or maybe let's add a text first. So let's add some random number representing page views. And let's add a class margin bottom 0. And now inside of this paragraph, this first number will wrap inside of span element. And here I want to add a class h5 to style this text as some h5 heading, and margin right 2. And next to this, let's add a small. Let's add the percentage. And here we'll add an icon, arrow up, representing growth. So FAS, arrow up, and maybe FASM to make it smaller, and let's add margin right 1. By the way, if you want to see all available icons in MD Bootstrap, just type icons in the search box, and here you will find a list of 1531 icons. So you can search the icon you like and just copy it. Coming back to our project, we need to do a few things here. First, let's add text reset. So thanks to this class, this default blue link color won't be applied here, because as you remember, we are using a element here. And now let me just see, here we should apply a text success, so the green color symbolizing success. And well, actually it should be applied here to the small element, not to the icon. And let's make it a bit smaller with text SM, sorry. All right. And I think it will be a good idea to add a white color text to the entire body, so it will be a default color of the text. So simply add a color property and add a white color. And now I think this text muted should be a slightly lighter. So let's add text muted. Let's set the color to HSL 0% and 80% of lightness. And something doesn't work as expected. Text muted. All right, I know. It should be important tag. So you should be very careful when using important tag, because it can unexpectedly override your styles. But in this case, if we want to override the text muted default color, we need to use this property tag. So right now we know exactly what we are doing and we know the side effects, so now we can safely use this, but remember, be very careful with this. So the first card is ready and it looks really nice. So now we can simply copy this 3 more times to each of the column. And we can change the content. One more thing, I like more space in my design. So for example, I would prefer to have more space between the columns here, between the cards. And in Bootstrap, we can easily achieve this by adding GX next to the row class, GX and LG, because I want to apply this only on large screens. And let's say 5. So right now on large screens, where we have more available space, these gaps between columns will be bigger, but on the smaller screens, it will have the standard size. Now let's update the content here. So every card should represent a different data. So for example, in the second card, Oh, let me see this. All right, so in the first one is users, so we can change the second one to users. Doesn't matter that much. So users, and the number is whatever. By the way, I'm going to prepare a tutorial about fetching the real data from different sources like Google Analytics or Search Console or Google Spreadsheet and load it into our admin dashboard. So stay tuned, because very soon I'm going to publish this fantastic tutorial about fetching real data and using it in when creating admin dashboards. All right, but coming back to our statistics, so let's change the percentage and users. All right, here should be a different document, a different icon, I suppose. So page views was file alt. All right, and here we have clock, average time, and as you can see, here is an arrow down and red color symbolizing the crease. So the negative statistics. So let me change this arrow up to arrow down and text success to text danger. Let's change the percentage here. And what's next? Bounce rate. Let's change the icon, sign out alt. All right. There is one more thing I would like to improve. I don't really like this this text danger, this red color, and actually the green representing success color could be a bit better too. So we can easily adjust the lightness and the intensity and the saturation of these colors by changing this to hex to HSL color, I mean. So let's copy this, and coming back to MD Bootstrap website, let's type in the search box color scheme generator. So right now here we can paste the color we just copied, and then we can copy the HSL color. So this is the same color but in HSL format, and with HSL format we can easily adjust the lightness and the saturation of this color. So coming back to our styles, let's set text, success and color to, let's say, a slightly darker, 40%, and don't forget about important tag in this very specific case. Right now they are slightly lighter, and thanks to this better visible. And let's do the same with text danger. So let's copy this and let's paste it into our color scheme generator. Very useful tool, by the way. And coming back to our project, text danger, color, important. Let's say instead of 58, 68. All right, now it's better. So once again, I strongly recommend you to drop hex colors or RGBA colors for HSL format. Now it's time for the table. So in this case, we'll place a standard Bootstrap table inside of this glass card, and we'll add a few additional elements like avatars, badges, buttons, and so on. So below this summary section, and by the way, it's a good idea to add some margin bottom to this section, so we'll have a space between the sections. Now let's create another one, and we'll call it table. And at once, let's add a margin bottom here as well. Now let's go back for a second to mdbootstrap.com. Let's type table. Let's copy some basic example of the table. So here we have a table element with a table class, table head, and table body. Very standard construction. And the first class I want to add here is text white, because although we add a white color to the body, the table does not inherit this color. So we need to explicitly add a text white directly to the table element. And now we don't want this border, so to remove borders from the table, we need to add a table border less. But we want to use a table hover, so when we hover the element, the row, you will see it is highlighted. All right. And now let's wrap this table inside of another div so we can achieve a few things. First of all, we want to add a table responsive class. And that means on mobile, the table will be scrollable horizontally. So if we have a lot of data inside the table, we can scroll it. And actually that's the only way to make a table responsive. The next thing we want to add is our glass effect. So because we prepared before a helper class, bg glass, now we can add it here. Now let's also add a shadow for strong and rounded corners 6. It's a good idea to use everywhere the same level of shadows and rounded corners. Now let's change the data inside of our table. Name, title, status, position. Of course, you can fill up this data as you wish, so it doesn't need to follow exactly the same text, and because it's only a dummy content, so it doesn't matter what do you write here. One more thing, when we hover the row, you will see that the text became quite dark, and I don't like this effect. I would prefer that the text stay completely white. So to remove this effect, I mean to changing the color of the text, we need to explicitly add one more text white class to tr element. Now it's okay. Let's remove these numbers. We don't need this in our table. And here inside of the first cell, let's add a div with deflex enable and align items center to center the content inside of this div vertically. And now let's add img, and I'm going to add avatar here the same way as it is here in our demo. And as you can see, it's slightly too big. So let's add inline CSS and let's set a width to 45 pixels and the same height. And because we want it to be rounded, I'm going to add rounded circle class. And now it looks okay. Now below img element, but inside of deflex div, let's add another div with margin to the left and 2 paragraphs inside. The first one will be name John Doe, let's say, and of course you can use whatever name you want. And let's add FW bold to make this text bolder, and let's decrease a margin bottom to MB1. Now below let's add another paragraph with email address and let's add class text muted because it's secondary text, so it doesn't need to be highlighted, and margin bottom 0 because we want to remove the margin completely, so it will be aligned like this, so perfectly vertically centered. Now in the second column, title column, let's add 2 paragraphs as well. So maybe I will just copy this here because it will be exactly the same syntax, but instead of the name and email, I will type here software engineer and the name of department. Alright, and in the third column is the status with a batch. So here let's add a span element with a class batch and batch success and rounded peel for rounded corners active. All right, and we need 2 more cells, td, and here we simply type a text, and in the last one we'll add a button. So button with a text edit, and now we will add a few classes, but first an attribute button. So it will be, thanks to this, it will be semantically correct. And now a class is button, button outline white, button SM for small size, and button rounded. Yes, perfect. So now we can simply copy the entire row and paste it 3 more times. And as you can see, these elements aren't vertically centered, so we can easily fix this by adding to the table element class align middle, align middle. All right, now it looks perfect. So now we just need to replace this content in these 2 next rows, so it will differ one from another. So I will simply copy this because we won't do anything new here, so there's nothing to learn. And thanks to this, it will be faster. And of course, you can place any content you want here. Our table is ready, and as you can see, it's fully responsive. So everything works as expected, and we can move further. To create this interactive chart, map, and site navigation, we'll need to use MDB Pro version. It's a paid package, and you can learn more about it in the link I provided in the description of this video. MDB Pro is a very powerful framework that provides thousands of advanced components, plugins, templates, design blocks, backend integration, and apart from this, also drag and drop builder, premium support, Git access, and MDB Lab. I really love this package and limitless possibilities it provides. The collection of components and features is just mind-blowing. And if you want to use it and follow the advanced part of this tutorial, in the description of this video, I added a huge 50% discount code, which you can use and get MDB Pro for a very nice, much cheaper price. Hurry up, because it won't be available forever. Let's go back to our project. I have already updated my package to MDB Pro version, so now I can start working on charts and map. So first, let's create one more section just below the table, and let's name it visualization. That's a very hard word to pronounce and to write. All right, so now we'll create a grid with 2 columns inside, 1 column for a chart and the second for a map. Single row with call lg6 and call md12 and margin bottom 4, margin bottom lg 0. All right. So actually we don't need this here because it will be a default setting, so this one is enough. And let's create the second column, and also let's add additional spacing between columns by adding gxlg5 as we did before. And now let's create a div with bg glass and shadow for strong and rounded 6. So exactly the same settings we used before. And now let's create a cart header. I like to add comments because then my code is more readable, so I can distinguish all the parts from each other. But if you don't like to add comments, you don't need to do it. But I will. And here, as a cart header, I will add a div with p4 for padding and border bottom to add a bottom line. And as you can see, in this header we have two columns as well, with stats on the left and the button on the right. So let's do the same here. So another div inside and call 6. Let's copy this. And here let's add a paragraph with a class text muted margin bottom 2. Let's name it users, and below let's add another paragraph with a class margin bottom 0 to remove any bottom margin. And here span inside with a class h5 margin and some margin right 2. Let's add some number. So we are using the same schema as we use in the cart at the top. So let's add an arrow inside, EFAS, FA arrow up, FA, SM, and margin and 1. Class text success and text SM for small text. Let's add some percentages. All right. And on the right, we'll add a simple button. Class button outline white, button rounded. Also, let's add an attribute role button. All right, and here to this second column, let's add text and to align the button to the right. And now to align it vertically, so they should be aligned exactly in the middle of the high of the header, we can add here to the row align items center. So in most of cases we also need to add a div flex to enable flexbox, but because a row has a flexbox by default, we don't need to do this, and we can simply add align item center or any other flexbox classes. And now we can take care of the chart itself. If you want to learn about chart in details, go to mdbootstrap.com and in the search box type chart, and here you'll find chart fundamentals, and here you can find all the basic information about charts. So right now we'll just use a basic setup. So here below the card header, let's add another comment, card body, and let's create a div with a padding p4, and then let's add a canvas element with an ID line chart. All right, and let's set a height to 200 pixels. Now we'll need to add a few lines of custom JavaScript. So if you go to chart documentation, you will find out that there are two ways of adding charts in MD Bootstrap. First is by using data attributes, so you can simply copy this HTML code and the charts will just work. Let's try this out. So for a second, let's replace our canvas element with the code we just copied. And here we have our chart. And it's very useful and simple way, but if we want to use some advanced customization, we should use a JavaScript version. So here, if we click at this tab, you will see we will have a basic setup for our chart. So let's copy this here. Well, let's rename this comment to chart. Let's copy it here. All right. And now let's change this to this variable to data line, because we'll use a line chart. And let's change type to line. And here, instead of bar chart, let's use line chart. This is an ID of our chart. And instead of data bar, let's use data line. And let's see if it works. And yes, it does. So right now we have our chart, but we want to improve it by adding this nice gradient and changing the color of the labels. Let's do it now. First, let's add a new variable and let's name it chart options, and it will be an object. And now let's add a few options. So first, we don't need this label here, this legend. So let's change it to false. And to pass this option to our chart, we'll need to add it here. And the legend disappeared. So now let's move further. So I want to change the color of the labels here to white. All right, so here below, I'm sorry, full legend. Well, actually it should be like this. Display false. All right. And now let's add a scales. Oh shit. Scales and y-axis. And here let's change the color of the ticks to font color. And actually it won't be exactly white, because it will be too strong for me. So let's use HSL format to add 0% and slightly darker than the full white color. And I made some mistake. Let me check this. All right. X-axis, font color. Now it's okay. Now let's do the same for X-axis. Text, font color. Let me copy this. All right. By the way, if you want to find all available options, you can have a look at an API tab in the chart documentation, or you can also have a look at charts advanced usage here. So here you can find some advanced examples of the charts. But let's go back to our project and let's add this beautiful blue gradient to our line chart. Here at the top of our chart, let's add a new variable. And let's catch our element, get element bud ID, line chart, get context, and now let's add another const, and this will hold our gradient. So forgive me that I won't explain this in details, but if I want to go into details for a charts, it will take us a lot of time. So right now you just need to trust me, it's okay. But I will create another tutorials dedicated only for charts in the near future. So right now, just please follow me and trust me. Gradient fill at color stop 0, and let's add HSL color I've prepared before, and another gradient fill at color stop, the second stop. It will be the same color but with an opacity. So here we change the alpha channel from 1 to 0.2, and now in the dataset we'll set a background color to gradient fill. And I made a typo here. But now it works as expected. Have a look at this beautiful chart with this very nice subtle gradient. I really love this design. Alright, now let's create map. So in MDB docs, let's type map. And here we'll find a vector map plugin. So the same as with charts, here you can find detailed information about map customization, and in the API docs, API tab, you will find all the possible options that you can use to customize and create the map you want. So first, inside of the second column, so here, let's create, well, actually we can copy this card because they are basically the same. As you can see, they differ only the content, because here is a chart and here is a map. So let's copy this here and let's change the text to location and where is this? Top country, USA. Let's remove the percentages because it just doesn't fit here. And now, instead of this canvas with a line chart, let's add a div with a class vector map and with an ID my map or whatever you want. Just remember later to use exactly this ID you use in your HTML. So right now, below the chart script, let's add a map script and let's open another script tags and let's create a const map. And let's catch our HTML element by get element by ID and the ID we used in HTML, so it was my map in my case. And now let's create a map itself. And now let's set up a few options. So we want this map to be read only. Let's set it to true. Let's set a stroke to HSL 0% 100, so it's exactly the white color. All right, and I made some mistake here. Stroke. All right. And let's add a fill. And I'm going to use the HSL I've prepared before. So right now, the fill of the continents is this very light blue, so it's more suitable to the colors of our theme. And now let's add a color to a specific countries. Color map. Let's open an array. And how does it work? So we use a fill property and then we choose a color we want. So for example, let's use this HSL color and then we define a regions. And let's say we want this color to be United States. And here we can see this color was applied to the United States. So now let me just copy the codes of all other countries that are marked here. So I don't need to write it on my own. It will be faster, because right now, if you know the concept, it won't be nothing new for you. So after saving the file, you can see our map is ready. So it works as I mentioned before. Here we have this color for Russia and Australia. Here we have this color for regions. These are countries in Europe: Poland, Germany, France, Great Britain, Spain, and so on. If you search in the internet, you will find a code for every country. They are very standardized, so and there is very easy to find a code for a country that you are looking for. Actually, there is one more thing I want to improve here. Instead of this gray color on hover, let's add a hover fill, and let's set it to our theme color, but the very dark one. So here let's change lightness to only 20. Let's see if it works. Yes, now it looks much better for me. And the last thing we'll take care in this tutorial is site navigation. So let's go back to MDB docs, and in the search box let's type sitenav. And we want to use this slim version of the sitenav. So let's copy this and let's paste it here above our container. And let's also copy JavaScript code and let's paste it here, but first we need to create new script tags. And let's paste it inside. Alright. Now let's adjust the sitenav to our needs. So first of all, we want it to have the same color as our cards. So this glass background, and we can achieve this easily by using the helper class we created and used before, bg glass. And it works as expected. Next, we don't want to have these buttons here. So let's remove this togglers. And as you can see here, we want to add a toggler here at the top of other icons. So here above our links, let's add a class sitenav item, and let's add margin bottom 2. And inside, let's add an A element with an ID slim toggler. And let's add a few classes: sitenav link, deflex, justify, content, center to align it horizontally, and let's add a border bottom. And we also need to add an icon. So let's add FAS, FA, chevron, and chevron circle. Right. Of course, I made some typo. All right. Sitenav link. All right, now it's better. And here should be toggler, and we also need to add a hash. Let's see if it works. And yes, it does. And now I don't want to have this blue color on hover, so I can change it by adding data MDB color to light. All right. And now let's take care of the links. So I don't need these collapses here. So let me just remove this and this. I'll leave this single one. And here let's change this icon to FAS chart area, and let's add FW, so fixed width, so all the icons will have the same width. Let's name it website traffic. Website traffic. All right. Now I will copy this a few more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's change it to analytics, SEO. Of course, you can type here whatever you want. Sales. Users. Now let's also change the icon. So here will be chart, line, chart, P, money, bill, and the last one simply users. Perfect. There's a thing we need to fix here. As you can see, our site nav overlaps with the content, so we can easily fix this by adding a padding left to the body. And as you can see, the width of our slim site nav is 70 pixels. So let's add a padding left exactly to 70 pixels. And now it's perfect. And now let's also add overflow X to hidden. So for any content that could possibly extend over the body, let's hide it. And I also want these two cards to be equal high, and we can change this by setting here to the first column. Let's add H100. So thanks to this card will always have the 100 of available space, and because this card is slightly bigger, it defines the high for entire row, and thanks to this they will have the same size, the same high. Our dashboard is almost ready, but there is one thing we need to improve. When we resize the window, right now you see everything is okay, but if we resize it to mobile and all the elements will stack, you can see that here there is a problem with a gradient, because it exceeds the 100 viewport units as we set to the body. So we'll use a media query to set to set a different unit as simple percentages on smaller screens instead of viewport units. So let's set max width and let's set it to 998 pixels, because this is the size when the elements stack one below another. And let's set body height to 100%. And now it's okay. As you can see, our bug disappears. So on a large screen it's okay, and on a mobile it's also perfect. Alright. By the way, did you know that thanks to MDB Bootstrap you can use free hosting for your projects? We call it MDB Go and it's really great. Visit mdbgo.com for more information. In the description of this video you'll also find a link to the detailed tutorial on how to use MDB Go hosting and how to install MDB CLI, which is a fantastic and free supporting tool that provides many useful functionalities. Now, let me just show you how easy it is to publish our newly created project on the internet thanks to MDB Go. I already have MDB CLI installed on my computer, so now all I need to do is to run my terminal, and then I need to enter the path of the project I want to upload. So here is the directory where we have downloaded the MDB package and where we have been working during this tutorial. So let me just copy this path and let's enter this. And now I need to type only a single command mdb publish, and I will choose npm package manager, and then all I need to do is to choose a name for my project. I will name it dark admin. And then let's accept all other options. And after a few seconds, our project is available at this link. Let's see if it works as expected. And yes, it does. Extremely useful and super fast. Oh boy, I really love this design. And that's it for this tutorial. Let me know in the comments if you found it useful. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and join our Facebook group. Thank you for watching and see you in the next tutorial.